time. I think we're into a little more funk-orientated rock and a little more harmony and things like that. And but there's still that old Headpins Drudge tunes that's there, and a lot of 4-on-the-floor bass drum stuff. But there was a change, especially in we're using Simmons and Lynn drums for a couple of tunes in this album, which we've never used on previous albums. And they really work well, especially with the Lexicon digital reverb. Makes them sound like they're done in a big warehouse or something. So it's heading in that direction.
And as you showed us, you're doing an awful lot of the pre-production right here on the boat. So what does that mean? That you're writing a song in the middle of the night and then just bang, turn on the light and away you go?
Yeah, well, it's great. You know, you can sit around upstairs and hack around with a few chords, and all of a sudden say, well, okay, I've got the general song, basics of the song. Then I run downstairs and program a Lynn track. And then, of course, the bass track goes on, and the keyboards, and all of a sudden, an hour later, I've got a basic track. So you can get a hell of an idea. And it's especially good for arranging, too, because sometimes you get in the studio, and you'll do the whole basic track, and you find out, God, I wish I would have done this chorus before, right after the guitar solo, instead of putting a verse in there. And instead of editing, you can get all that stuff figured out before you go into the studio. So it's going to save us a hell of a lot of time when we go back in.
You've been working with a lot of other different writers recently as well. You said you were working with Mike Reno?
Yeah, Reno and myself have been writing quite a lot in the last year. We wrote a lot of songs together, and Bill and myself got back together. Bill Henderson.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about it for ages, about getting back together and write. But here comes our friendly helicopter. But we've been talking about writing, and we haven't had time, both of us. Either I've been free and he hasn't, or he's been free and I haven't. So we finally got together about 2 or 3 weeks ago and wrote the first song since the Chilliwack breakup, or I should say myself and Ab leaving Chilliwack. And it was great to get back together. It was like that. It was a magic team, and it was really nice to get back together with Bill. And God, we wrote a song in about 20 minutes. It was like, okay, this is going to be great. And it was no time at all. We had a real good song called Streets of Fire, and maybe we were talking about actually releasing that as not as Chilliwack or Headpins, as a Bill Henderson, Brian Macleod project. So you never know, might hear that on the radio soon.
Who knows, yeah. Now, the other tunes you're writing, are they
I gotta get this turtle out of my tooth. Hold on.
Oh, yeah.
Turtle. I just had a turtle.
Yeah. This is marine land here, you know. I think you're there. Now, the songs you're writing with other people, like Mike Reno, are those geared towards a Headpins record, or would you be writing with a Loverboy in mind? Where would that be?
Well, we, about 6-8 months ago, when we were writing, we wrote a bunch of tunes together, and as far as I know, Loverboy was going to do a couple of them, but you never know, because they've got probably about 20-25 songs to pick from. So at the time, I know they've been rehearsing them. One called Touch My Car and another one called Last Time. And they were rehearsing the tunes, so maybe they'll be on the album, which would be great. But I know there's one tune that Reno and myself wrote called It Doesn't Matter. That's going to be on Headpins' album for sure. And yeah, they're, when Bill and myself write, I kind of write a little more keyboard orientated and more chording and a little more melody, rather than the way I write for the Headpins is more groove orientated. And Reno and myself write more that way as well. More of a groove-orientated thing, and just more of a riff that keeps going over the same thing, and sort of hypnotic kind of thing.
You've had a chance to work with some old friends and associates recently in the clubs, right?
Yeah, well, we haven't played yet. Steve Ambrose from the Lincolns, and Brian Russell from Anne Murray, and a guy named Dennis Driscoll's playing bass, and we're going to go out in the bars. I think Doug Johnson's going to play keyboards as well from Loverboy. And we're going to go...
and you're playing drums?
Yes, I'm going to play drums in this project. We're just going to do a couple of gigs around town for fun.
There'll be a few surprised people when they see that.
Yeah, it's going to be great, because we all tour for 6-8 months a year, and then all of a sudden we're home, and we say when we're on tour, oh, it'd be great to get home and relax and do all the things around the boat that I wanted to do. And of course you get home for like 4 days and just, I want to play again. I got to go out and play. So you go through a couple of months of saying that, and finally, if you record like 8 hours a day, and you usually do it in the daytime, so you have your nights free. So I'd rather go out and play instead of going out for a beer. And when I go out for a beer anyway in a club, I just get itchy. I hear these other guys playing. I want to play. So,
yeah.
So finally, we we all talked about it. We said, yeah, let's start a little group, and we'll get a couple of weeks in before Christmas in the bars around town for fun. Actually, that's how the Headpins started, so I guess it's not all that bad.
Waiting for the new Headpins release, you've also had a chance to do work as a producer.
Yeah, I'm producing DOA right now, which is quite a different project for me, punk rock band, Dead on Arrival. So we've been in the studio for about the last week, and it's going real well. It's really totally different project for me. I've never done anything like this before, and it's great working with the guys because they really mean what they do, and it's better than producing a project where you have to put in a lot of yourself because the band is not really sure. A lot of times you end up with projects like that. They really depend on you for chord arrangements and things like this. But these guys are definitely know exactly what they want to do and their type of music. And my hat in that gig is to really get the sounds right, and stuff like that. And that's about it, you know. And a few arrangement things, but that's pretty interesting.
I saw them in, I think, 1978 on a double bill with the Pointed Sticks. I mean, have they maintained that same style of music ever since then? And does it sound dated to you?
No, actually, I think that was one of the reasons why they called me up to produce it, because they want to get a little more radio orientated. And I heard them about 5 years ago as well, but their music has changed quite a lot since then. It's a little more heavy metal, but still with that punk rock attitude. And some songs you'll be surprised in this album. There's some heavy metal cuts, and they've sort of made that broke through that barrier to heavy metal from the real punk rock days that they're in about 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah. Do you get a chance to write on the road, and when you come back, do you find that the environment here leads you to do completely different things musically?
Well, the Headpins have a definite style to write for, and you know, we don't want to change it completely, but you know, you change as the years go by, I guess. I don't write on the road unless it's in a jam in the afternoon where we're doing a sound check, and I might come up with a riff and the band tries it or something like that. But I find it so difficult to write on the road because there's no time. You know, and a lot of a day on the road is maybe the afternoon's interviews, and then there's a sound check, and then play the gig in the evening, and then after the gig, it's like,
yeah,
oh God, so,
relax.
So I don't want to see your guitar for the rest of the night. But most of the writing is done at home. I do most of the writing on the boat. A lot of times I'll write a bed track, and like I said, go downstairs, record it, give Darby the tape, and she'll write some lyrics, and then we'll come back a couple of days later and get together on a tune. And that's pretty well the way we work it. Actually, we do write in the studio as well. Sometimes we'll go in the studio and we have one song to go for that day, and all of a sudden this new riff comes up that we think is a great riff, and we'll probably do that song that day. It's because it's spontaneous.
Yeah.
All of a sudden we write a song in 45 minutes, and 3 hours later the bed's on tape. So.
Now, you've covered the length and breadth of this country, not only touring, but also living and working. You started in Halifax with Pepper Tree, and then came to Toronto for 7 years, and now you're really firmly settled out here. How would you characterize the differences in the musical scenes in each location?
Oh, hard question, that one. Halifax, I mean, style-wise, I found Halifax an R&B city back then, which is now rockin'. It seems to be a real rockin' city now. Toronto, I found really an R&B city all the time I was there. That was from 1972 till about 77, tail end of 77. It was really R&B orientated. But Vancouver, I came out here and found, boy, this is just one rock and roll city. Everything seems to be, you know, revolves around rock and roll. There's not a hell of a lot of funk scene out here, or R&B, and just mainstream rock seems to be the thing. And so obviously I really enjoyed out here for that reason. Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you. But, you know, there's always been the Gasworks, of course, but...
Toronto is...
Oh, okay.